Go, Rahab.
Okay. So as I was saying earlier, is like resources that we have used in other forums that we thought about bringing forward at this stage in time. And since when we talked about the writing process and this idea, we already had a break, and I'm sure most of the people had their draft. So taking a break is key. And then the other key thing that looks a little bit not like scientific, but reading aloud your work helps you to catch errors and like awkward paraphrasing. So this is one other thing that we need, the participants need to, they can give someone else, like doing, we are going in groups of 2 and reading each other's work where awkwardness happening. Then create an outlet which will help your work and need vision and further input. Then focus on one aspect at a time. For instance, if you are looking at like first is working on your data, understanding your data, then you make your argument, your clarity and the styles that you are writing with, and all the structure. But I think the most important thing is the argument. Then the other aspect of your writing fall in place. And then about the way we are exchanging with the peer mentors and so that they can have like what we did this morning with our titles, and it was quite helpful to most of us. So this is also key to get feedback to people, from people whom you are working together and people whom you feel they can give good critics without hiding or without insights and that you may have. So you fail even to notice what your maybe some, if you are for those who are working in geological times, your pollen data may expect that you yourself haven't seen it, but when you share with your peer, with your groups, they can see that and tell it to tell it out. The rubrics or the guidelines, see if your work is going well with the guidelines, like what Aspa explained yesterday, and how it is flowing and whether it meets the requirement of the journal that you are intending to submit. Again, the use of technology, this one at this point in time, I believe everybody is aware, but it's always nice to you try, and also and resources that we have to be able to see and to point out the mistakes that you may have with your work. The other is about how do you self-edit yourself. Again, the grammar, all the computer and the tools we use, they have a spell check, they have grammar tools. We make use of them. And again, other than just that, we can also do manual check for errors, because sometimes the tools may miss out. Sometimes it's the names that are not in the dictionary. Sometimes the terms we use are not English. So it is you had to go word by word, sentence by sentence, and be sure to check on the words and the names that you know in your work are quite unique and may not appear elsewhere, so that at least you can be able to make sure you have consistency in their spellings and the format and the font you're having them. Punctuations, it's easy to say, but it's nice to remind ourselves that the use of punctuation marks and they help us to run our sentences, and especially I know there's somebody who helped me a lot by telling me to have long sentences. So when you make your sentences short, and precise, it's better than having too long sentences. And that goes again to the point number 3, the sentence structure. You vary the length and the structure so that you enhance the readability and avoid overly complex sentences that may confuse the readers. Word choice and conciseness. Replace vague or overly complex words with simpler, more precise alternatives, and eliminate redundant or unnecessary words. So this we also came up this morning as we were talking and discussing about the titles and how you do your work would sell through your titles. So some of to reach out a big audience, is good to think about the words and the keywords that people would search for your work, and your work will be seen through the search engines. Yeah. And then clarity, consistency. This is mainly emphasized and the way you structure your sentences. So it's good to ensure your ideas are clearly expressed and that we maintain the consistent tone and style throughout the document. Active voice, this was something I never used to understand what it meant. So some have the time about using the active voice, because most of the time we feel like we are, because of referencing, it confused us to report the work as our work, and get to report as see it's either it can either go this way or either that way. So active voice is very important because it brings out the confidence that the writer has about their data, and it is more direct and more piercing to the reader than when you use a passive voice, which may make sentences more less engaging. The paragraph structure, again, it's to have a clear main idea on the topic sentence and how those they flow. And so sometimes you see, you get comments on your work that there is a lot of repetition. This repetition mainly they come along because the way you paragraph your work may be confused, may be mixed up, and that brings out the mix and repetition, because there's something you want to communicate and you're not able to bring it out. Every time it pops in your head, you bring it in the paragraph you are in, and you end up saying the same thing with different words. So it is important also to see how you structure your paragraph and how your work flow logically and coherence between sentences and within the paragraphs. Check for logical flow. Again, it's how each section or paragraph transitions from one aspect to the other and how smoothly that is. Look if there is any, like you jump from one idea to the other or one topic to another. So it's very important to know, to see, to read. That's why reading loud is important. Someone reading it for you to see if there's something you're missing out or there's something you just brought in and has not even talked about. So sometimes you get comments saying, oh, we are seeing this for the first time. It has never appeared in your methods. It never appeared in your introduction. Where is it come? It just came in at a point that you have not mentioned it else. So, and something, and some rain, we don't have a ceiling, so that's why we have some noise in the background. It's raining and you can hear me clearly. The other aspect is fact checking to verify the accuracy of your facts, the figures and quotes, and especially even the referencing to make sure that the sources are correctly read. And at least the accuracy of your facts is where the weight of your of our work will be, because this is where we bring our uniqueness. So this is where we really need to work on to make sure that that uniqueness comes out clearly, comes out factually, and it's clearly correlated with the existing work. Or if it was a gap that you're addressing, then you can clearly address that there was really a gap and no other correlation, And so to make your work quite strong. The other aspect is about formatting and how you present your work, paying attention to font, spacing, those minor mistakes. You don't want them to get to the editor's table. So work on them before, because once those small things get to the editor's table, then it may question your work. And I think that is the end of that aspect. And questions and comments are welcome.
I can just add a couple of facts. Consistency is absolutely key. You get so involved in your paper, and sometimes, and we're going to do it this afternoon, you need to read somebody else's and look for consistency. You will quickly see gaps. You'll quickly see where it's not following through. And then the second point is sometimes you will find that your paragraphs are well written and they make sense, but you can move them around to other places of text and it will make the document flow so much better. So it's something we don't do, and I've tried to do it with a couple of you this morning, that the whole paragraph fits much better in this section, or this fits better over there. So once you've written it, you've got it a particular way, almost read it again and go a little bit further back, having a look at almost each subject matter of each paragraph. And by moving those around, sometimes you get it to flow much better. So it's something else to consider when you read it. Think about it in that context of about, actually, this whole block of text, I like it. But so Selena paper this morning, she got this wonderful reflective piece on the method she uses, but it doesn't fit well the way she had it. And so by moving it around to the discussion, it made a whole new kind of theme in the discussion, which was really good. And so sometimes just by looking at all these paragraphs, you'll find that they slot in somewhere else. So yeah, I thought that's very useful sometimes. So you've already said it, and you've said it well, but it's said in the wrong place. All right. So that's just from my side. I will get the comments.
So those online, do you have any comment to say?
No, I think that was really great. I mean, I would, in terms of responding to reviewer comments, I think it's really important to, as you said, take a break, read them through, go through it, digest what they are, and then deal with them a little bit at a time. And because often you get the reviews back and it feels a bit frustrating. You've done your very best to put this all together, and then somebody's telling you it's wrong is always difficult. And so I really think that's great advice that you've got there of just being persistent, getting it through. And I think particularly with this special issue, you will have editors that are really there to help you and to push the manuscripts better. Obviously, there's no guarantee that every paper is going to get published in this case, but really working with us, making our job easy in terms of getting all those minor things is really helpful. But also, yeah, just taking your time, taking it in small bits. So I think that's, yeah, really great advice from Rahab there.
Maybe I can add, nobody gets a paper come back with no changes. Even Professor Gosling gets paper come back and he's got lots and lots of corrections to make.
I've had papers come back with more comments on them than the length of the paper. So
so it's a process that we all go through, and it's actually please, you've got to see it as part of the process. It's not a passing or failing or right or wrong. It's just other people's views on the way. I mean, none of us agree with each other on certain aspects. We're not going to. And these are just reviewers. Remember, they're reviewers that the editor chose. Hopefully, they chose reviewers that have an interest in the paper and that can add to it. That's not always the case. And then the job of the editor is sometimes not to pass on reviewers' comments.
or to actually say, you know, look at these, but consider it in this context or that context, because reviewers don't agree with each other. So the job of the editor is often to look at these comments and make sure that they are, particularly in a special issue, they are constructive. You don't want reviews that come back that just say, you know, who the hell told you to do this kind of thing. So yeah, what I do is pretty much, I think, similar to Will. I open the dreaded email. I see the reviewer's comments there. I normally get really, really cross. And I normally think the world is against me and people don't understand what I'm trying to say and how could that reviewer possibly be used. And then I leave it. I leave it alone. Just leave it for a week and I don't get upset about it. I just put it aside. And then what I do, and it's because I'm old and slow, I actually go and open up an Excel spreadsheet. And what I do is I put each bit of comment into a new line. So and I can show you examples. I'm very happy to share examples on the screen with you.
Yeah.
And what I do is I put, even if the reviewer has made one comment that I can see is 3 issues, I will then actually split those up. And what I'll do is I'll break them up and I will try and respond to each. But I just create this one big Excel spreadsheet table that has all the reviewers' comments. And what I'm subconsciously doing by copying them in is I'm actually reading them and beginning to think about them. I'm beginning to think, oh, that's going to take me a while. That's not going to take me a while. That's not too difficult. I don't agree with this. And so by just transcribing them from the editor's email into a spreadsheet, I'm already beginning to engage with them. Then, of course, I cheat like everybody. I do the easy ones first. Okay, and every time I do one, I highlight it in green. So in Excel spreadsheets, I just do it in green, in green, in green, in green. And I'll tell you what, on the first run, I bet you more than half of the comments you would have responded to. And then all of a sudden, they don't look so bad. They don't look so difficult. And then and normally with co-authors as well, I just try and do 1 or 2 and then leave it, and then do 1 or 2 and leave it. I don't try and do all at the same time. I break up the work that I've got to do. You know, that works for me. It may not work for you. Everybody has a different way of doing it. But I find that it goes quite quickly. And remember, the more information you give back, the easier the editor's job is. Editor doesn't really want to send your paper back to the reviewer if they can avoid it, because it takes a lot longer to do. So the more information I give the editor, so the editor gets my paper back and he gets a spreadsheet that has the reviewer's comments and how I've responded it, where I've responded in the paper, how I've corrected it. They can quickly look and go, oh, that's been sorted out. That's been sorted out. And I guarantee you, it means less chance of it going back to the reviewer and the reviewer saying, oh, I'm not so sure, or delaying the process even further. So the more information you can give to the editor, the easier that person's life is. And, you know, you want to keep those people happy. Okay. So I find that very useful. And even along the lines of just saying, you know, thank you. I agree with that comment, but my data doesn't support that, or I was unable to do that experiment. You know, you don't have to do everything a reviewer asks of you. And again, you've got to see it in the light of it's part of what we do. It's the part of the critique. As Will has correctly pointed out, we all get questions come back to us all the time. So maybe what I can do for you is, if you just think and maybe there's any questions you may have of either Will or Rahab, I'm just going to open up a spreadsheet if I can and show you exactly what I mean by that. Okay.
Because I once replied once, and my supervisor said it was
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, in the meantime, we have good news. Rook is already at the airport. He's arrived. So soon he's going to be with us.
Okay, you guys need to, any other questions while I need a minute to get my brain into this just to find the spreadsheet, if you don't mind. Okay, so now what I've got to do is go here. Sorry, Will, I know you can just see my head at the moment. I'm trying to open up a spreadsheet. Can you see that? Okay, so you see what I've done here. Not too clear. I'm just seeing if I can. Okay, you're going to have to read across, but on the far left-hand side, I've put down just number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I know numbering in case I need to refer to it. Then I've actually got a heading that says section. And what I've done in the section is I've put down if it is a general comment, or if it's in the introduction, or if it's in the background, or the study site, or the methodology, or anything like that at all. Then I've got what the actual comment is itself. So I can read this one to you. One of the reviewers comment, I found the structure of the thesis to play. Oh dear, I brought up a thesis. Oh, stop sharing. No, it doesn't matter. Can we still use this? I think we can. So you can see there, it just says ill-fitted reference. And then I said, replace with a more appropriate reference, or the conclusion at the end of the materials and methods chapter should be deleted without problems. Conclusions have been removed. So, and then in the final column, I have what page number that's actually been done. What I'm going to try to do is try find a better one than that. Sorry, guys, just bear with me.
Take your time, Trevor.
No, well, I don't want to waste time, but I'm trying to think aloud here at the same time. So I'm trying to think where the papers are and what the comments are. Here we go.
Would it help if I put up one of my reviews for one of my papers or something like that? Would that any?
I got it. I got it.
Okay.
Got it. I've got one. I just need to share. Share screen. There we go, and share. Here we go. Can you see that? Okay, so I've just given it a number, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, what section it was under, methods, results, discussion, and abstract. The reviewer's comment, line 177, here you need to insert a sentence or two to explain which method was used to count the slides. And then response, needs standard method and possibly a reference needs to be added to it. So, you know, what I'm saying is if you create these spreadsheets, and maybe Steph, maybe you can actually put one of yours up as well. I'll stop sharing and I'll just keep talking while you bring one up, if that's okay.
Well, the thing is, I don't do the spreadsheet. I can just put up one of my general reviews.
Yeah, do that. Let's see different formats. I'll just carry on talking about the spreadsheet while you bring that up. You've just got to be engaging with it. You just got to see it. You know, you're now like you're almost halfway there or further, and you got to see all those comments, see it in the light of which it's meant. I reckon very few of my reviewers have ever been extremely negative or kind of confrontational or something like that. That's not the aim. And remember, a reviewer is doing it for free. They're part of the academic citizenship. And the truth is they really do want to help. It is rare that you get something back that just says, you shouldn't be doing this, or you don't have a clue what you're doing. And even if you do get one like that, there's always going to be a second or third reviewer anyway. And to be honest, the editor isn't doing his job or her job correctly if you get a review like that, because that's not what is constructive at all. So it's not like a thesis being marked or an essay coming back or something like that. Okay. Steph, you found it?
Yes.
Okay. We'll tell you which you are.
So now you should be
Perfect. It's on screen.
Okay, so this
We can
is
see the screen.
Can you see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is the original, one of the rebuttal letters that I wrote for my PNAS paper. So I went through 4 rounds of reviews with that paper. So I got it back a couple of times. And the length of the rebuttals got shorter, but even the last one was still a couple of pages in length. And the way I basically structured it is I coded it, which I made clear to the editor the way I wanted. So the remarks from the editor itself. So what it actually said was put like in italic, and below that I made sure in blue what my actual response was. So I coded the editor remarks and then the reviewer remarks, which I had 3 of, which I went through 4 rounds of this, and then always being polite, because as Trevor as well as Rahab has said, people are doing this for free. So even if you disagree with what they write, or if they're super critical of your work, still appreciate that they're actually doing it for the betterment of the study. So, and so I basically copy pasted it in, and then I went through each of these comments step by step by step to really try to address. It went into lengths. This goes to the point that Trevor did. The more information you provide, the more in depth you answer the question, whether or not you agree with it or you don't. It's easier is for an editor to say, okay, this problem has been solved. So, so I just went through it. As you can see, these are sometimes extremely lengthy replies, because I really went into the nugget and saying, like, we like to thank the person, we acknowledge these issues, this is what we can do, this is what we cannot do. Like this, for instance, one of the reviewers wasn't happy with the age model that we used, because they are for the same site different age models. But that's an issue this study couldn't solve, because I just decided on an age model based on what seemed the best option for the paper. So the reviewer was very upset that we used this one over the other one. So we had to make an explanation as to why we say this way or the other way. The editor actually weighed in saying, if you make this, that's why you see here in addition and in line with the editor's guidance, we have noted. So the editor made a suggestion on how to solve this issue in the text, and we went with exactly what he said, adding it into the text just to solve this issue. So this is one of these, you can go back and forth with reviewers a couple of times, but you need to find a solution that works for the best for most of them. So, and that's basically where we went. And sometimes, as you can see here, the answer can be super, super short, like, we've done exactly what you asked us to do, period. Move on, problem solved. And sometimes you just go and you can see sometimes editors or reviewers have really lengthy things, which can be sometimes answered with a single sentence, because it's just like they're thinking it through why they go through, and then you have like half a page and it boils down to 1 sentence, where you say like, sure, I can do that, or have done as suggested. So it really depends a little bit, but as you can see, like, it really developed. And again, this I think is the 3rd review. So I've been at that point through 2 review rounds with more comments already, and you can still see the lengths I've got for the paper. And it's just really tiresome work. So I can completely understand how daunting it might seem to if you haven't done this already a couple of times, how daunting this is. You get these review comments back, and sometimes they're very critical, how you address this, is this going to work? But just go through it piece by piece, 1 comment at a time. If you're not sure with this comment, move on to the next one where you're sure you know what to answer to it or how to change stuff. And then just go back to the ones that are a bit itchy for you and try to solve them at a later stage. So I'm never writing this basically top to bottom. I'm always like, these are easy things to fix. I address these first, and then I leave myself a list of the ones that are more difficult, and then I try to go through them, try to think on them on how I'm going to deal with this. And I'm to thank for their work, because, you know, be nice to your reviewers, because there's a likelihood they get it back. So yeah. So sometimes, yeah, as you can see, sometimes you can just say, yeah, in line with the suggestion of the reviewers, we have revised the figure. Done. Problem solved. No matter what it is, just done. So yeah, again, this is how I usually do it. I structure each review by itself, the editor by itself, write an introduction letter where just basically for the sake of the editor say, these were the main concerns, I have addressed them, and then I go into a detail for each editor, for each reviewer, piece by piece, highlighting what was said, what I did, how I changed it, and if appropriate, which line number in the revised manuscript that change is to be found. So make it as obvious, as transparent, as clear as I can, what has been done, how did I address the issues, in the hopes that makes it easier for the next round, or that they're not even sending it out anymore. Are you guys still there, Nairobi? I think we lost Nairobi.
Perfect. That's got every.
Okay.
Oh, okay. No, you got me.
Okay,
You got us
perfect.
back. Thanks for that. I just want to add here as well is remember the editor is also an academic most times. So an editor also goes through exactly the same processes as well. So if you've got a good editor, they will check these things. And let me give you some confidence. This is a special issue that's being done with Will, Steph, myself, Rahab, and a couple of others. And we know you and we know what you're going through. And so our job is not only to make sure the special issue is best it can be, but also to help you go through the process. So we are here to guide you. That doesn't mean your paper will be accepted, and we will send it out to proper reviewers. We're not going to send it out to tame reviewers because we want everybody in the special issue. So we also have an academic integrity that we need to uphold, and we will. We joke and mess around, but we are going to send it to the best people that are out there. But our job also, when it's to come back, is to help you through the review process. So we will help you draft the responses. Your supervisors are also very experienced in this. All of your supervisors have been through this multiple times. So they will also be there to guide you and to help you as well. One final comment on this is sometimes your paper gets accepted and gets published, and all of a sudden somebody who's never seen it before doesn't like it. And they don't like it enough that they write a letter to the journal as a comment saying, you got that wrong. You identified the pollen wrong. It doesn't look like that. Your charcoal is wrong. I saw your figure 2, and those images are definitely not the correct thing. The job of the editor is to accept that, see it, read it, to make sure that it's not a personal critique or something like that. And then they will give you the opportunity as the lead author to respond. And then the two are put together. And so what a journal can sometimes do, and it doesn't often happen, that in a follow-up, there can either be an erratum if there was an error, or what can happen is there is a comment and then a response to the comment. And then at that point, I, as the editor, will say to both teams, game over. If you want to take it off screen, if you want to take it out the journal and fight it out, go to a conference and do it, but not in my journal. Okay, so it's not a right of response, and it is rare that it happens, but sometimes I'll give you a real life example. I was editor of a journal, and a paper went in that was accepted by reviewers, and it dealt with trophy hunting in Namibia. And then somebody else said, well, if you look at who the authors are, because now the author's name are on the final paper, they're actually funded by that organization. And so what they're doing is writing a paper defending trophy hunting because that's where they get their consultancy money from. Now, I, as an editor, don't know that. I have no way of knowing that at all. And unfortunately, the journal didn't have a conflict of interest section. And so nothing was declared. And this other person pointed it out. So I sent it to the original authors. They had a chance to respond. Both sides had their say. That's it. You stop at that point. You want to continue fighting, you have a difference of opinion, absolutely fine, but go talk to each other. So there is that opportunity to do that in a journal as well. So if you see that sometimes when you scroll through and right at the bottom of the table of contents, it'll either say erratum or it'll say correspondence. That's what that section deals with. Okay. Sorry, I don't know how much you're getting of this, Steph or Will, but it's actually, there's a lot of thunder and lightning around outside, because hopefully you're still hearing us.
Yeah, we're okay. Is this a good moment for me to stop the recording? And then, because I think we've got through the bulk of what we wanted to say about that.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely fine. Yes.